Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Eastham. Today is May 7th, 2026, and this is a partially remote participation meeting, and the members of the board are gathered here in the Earle Mountain Room at Town Hall. Applicants and the public may participate in person here or online through the Zoom app or by phoning in. This meeting will be live broadcast on Local Access Channel 8 and streaming on the town website. I'm Joanne Verlinden, Chair of the Zoning Board, and with the help of my colleagues, I will be leading the meeting tonight. Before we begin, I want to run through a few of the procedures we follow as we proceed through the hearing. I will introduce the case to be heard, name the board members who will be seated on the case, and that will be followed by a presentation by the applicant or the applicant's representative of the nature of the case, the reasons for requesting a special permit, a variance, a site plan approval, or an appeal. Following that, board members may ask questions regarding various aspects of the case. At any point in this process, the applicant or the applicant's representative may request a continuance to make appropriate revisions to the application. If a hearing is to be continued to a later meeting, a motion is required and shall contain a date certain for the hearing to be resumed. Any revised or supplemental information for the board shall be submitted no later than the Thursday prior to the next regularly scheduled Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. When board members have finished with their questions, we'll open the meeting to abutters, people in the audience interested in the case, to hear their questions or concerns. And the applicant or the applicant's representative may respond to them. When it appears there are no more questions, we'll close the meeting to the public, and the board may then discuss the application and, when ready, proceed to a reading of the findings of fact, followed by a motion to either approve or amend the findings, and a vote will be taken. Next, we will take up the conditions pertaining to this case, and again, it'll be followed by a motion to approve or amend the conditions, and a vote will be taken. The last order of business will be to decide whether to approve or deny the applicant's request, and again, a vote will be taken. To grant approval or denial of a special permit, variance, site plan, or appeal requires a vote by at least 4 of the seated board members. At any point before a final vote is taken, the applicant or the applicant's representative may ask that the application be withdrawn without prejudice. This means that the case is not dismissed forever, and that the applicant can try again at a later time with better data or more information for the board's review. Our first case this evening is the people coming in, please should sign in here. And
Oh, sign in, okay.
we'll pause a few minutes while the people have time to sign their name and address and so forth.
Joanne, while you're paused, I wanted to ask, I've been fighting a terrible cough,
Yeah.
and I'm keeping it under control, but if you could please not assign me any extended readings tonight, I think it would benefit everyone.
Get in line.
I'll do 2 next month.
Okay,
was gonna
no
say-
readings for you.
I
All
said,
right.
get in line.
Yeah, right behind this guy over here. He's had a bad cold for a week. Okay. Our first case tonight is a case number ZBA 2026-01. It is being continued from April, and the applicants would like to continue this one more month. So I will need a motion
Who's
to
gonna,
approve the continuance.
Joanna, who's going to be seated?
Oh, and before we get to that, the people seated in this case will be Mr. Ridge, Mr. Byrd, Mr. Sheldon, Mr. Kennington, and myself. So if I could have a motion,
Joanne, what is the date certain?
date certain, it will be June 4th.
So moved.
Okay. And a second, please.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and me as well. Okay, so the vote is 5. And we'll go on to the second case, which is case number ZBA 2026-04, 11 Bayberry Lane, map 13, parcel 148. Anna Davis and David Silverman, owners, seek a special permit and/or a variance pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 8, and Eastham Zoning Bylaw, Section 4.3, an alteration of a non-conforming single-family structure to demolish a dwelling that is pre-existing non-conforming as to setbacks on a lot that is pre-existing non-conforming as to lot area, and to construct a new dwelling. And a vote will be taken. Seated on this case will be Mr. Ridge, Mr. Byrd, Mr. Kennington, Mr. Dolly, and Mr. Sheldon. You are
I'm recusing myself.
You're recusing yourself, and myself. All right. Good evening, Ben.
How are you, Madam Chairman? My name is Ben Zender, and I'm here on behalf of Anna Davis and David Silverman, both of whom are on the screen, to watch the proceedings and to answer any questions you may have.
Microphone.
I'm so sorry, Wayne. Do I have to turn this on somehow?
Push the button in the middle.
I'll start over. Again, my name is Ben Zender. I'm here on behalf of David Silverman and Anna Davis, who are on the screen. With me is Peter Haig, who's our project architect. Our project engineer, John O'Reilly, is not here, but I'm not sure that you'll need to have him answer any questions tonight. If you have questions of that nature, I can certainly have him come back at the next hearing and answer questions for you. I have submitted today some photographs to put up on the screen that I don't really need to address the board with at this point. They're just to address some concerns of the neighbors that were previously addressed, so I may, on rebuttal, ask the board to look at some photographs. So this project at 11 Bayberry is, the lot is relatively small, but also consistent with sizes of other lots in the area. It's 8,712 square feet. It has a structure built around 1960 of 1,723 square feet of site coverage, approximately. The proposal is to remove the existing structure, build a new home, and you have in your packet both the elevations and floor plans of the home that's going to be built. The home will be 1,872 square feet, so from a site coverage standpoint, it's going to increase by about 149 square feet. The most importantly, I think, for this application is the structure is pre-existing non-conforming in several respects. It's non-conforming on the front yard, the north side, and the south side, which would be the front, the right and the left, looking at the property. This board has probably permitted more alterations on Bayberry Lane than any other street in Eastham that I've been familiar with. So I think the board has some personal history, but we've also submitted a neighborhood comparison with some photographs of other homes in the immediate vicinity to show the nature of the architecture. Typically, it's almost universally, people that are replacing homes on the water side of Bayberry Avenue are working with a grade there. They're building two stories plus some type of a walkout or a garage on the bottom. This structure is designed at just under the height limit, which is also typical for that neighborhood. Most importantly, the existing structure, a little unusual. It has existing front side and rear setback nonconformities of 24 feet in the front, where 30 feet is required for pre-existing nonconforming lots. It has a side setback existing of 15.3 feet, and it has an existing north side setback at 17.9 feet. Those setbacks are a little deceiving because they're not building setbacks. They're the closest point of the structure, and you've been out there, you've seen that there are decks on both sides of the structure that run a little closer. On the south side or the left side, there's a deck that comes out at the second floor that comes out and encroaches in. The proposal is to actually go a little bit closer on all sides. And so on the north side, it's going to go from 23.7 to 18.6 feet. Actually, the deck itself is going to go to 7.9 feet. So, but the building itself is going to go to 18.6 feet. So the building itself is going to go roughly 5.1 feet closer to the north line setback, which is probably about, if my arms are any indication, probably about that much closer. On the left side, its existing is 15.3 feet. It's going to go to 14.9, roughly a half a foot, give or take 0.4 feet closer to the structure on that side. So these are obviously further encroachments into the setbacks, but when we look at your zoning code, we're required to demonstrate certain things in order to get this relief, and it's the same relief we have to get for every applicant. And parenthetically, this has received approval from the Conservation Commission, which both approved the structure, the location of the structure, and its nexus to the ground. They also approved the vegetation plan for the mitigation and restoration of the lot following construction. The entirety of this lot is within jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. They have jurisdiction 100 feet landward of the top of the coastal bank. So, and then we're going to be in front of Planning Board for residential site plan review on May 20th as well. So essentially what we're asking you to do is to look at this project under Section 4.0 non-conforming uses, which provides, in relevant part, that if the Board of Appeals determines that an alteration will increase the non-conforming nature of a structure, no such alteration may occur unless the board issues a special permit after finding that it will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing nonconformity and will not be detrimental to the public welfare. That's the general standard you're operating under. You also are tasked with looking at this project under the Section 4.4 special permit granting criteria, which I'll run through very, very quickly for you if you don't mind. Madam Chair, is that okay? Okay.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So one is the adequacy of the site in terms of size for the proposed structure or use. As I mentioned earlier, these lots are fairly consistent. They're part of a grid subdivision plan along the top of the bluff. Some lots are slightly bigger if they picked up 2 lots instead of 1. But the site is certainly adequate for the proposed use, which is an existing use, single-family residential use. And that particular use won't change. They can increase the number of bedrooms. The intensity of the use won't change. So the suitability of the site for the proposed structure use with regard to the purpose and intent of the zoning district, although I don't have it the tip of my tongue, the intent of the zoning district, but it's a residential zoning district, which I would imagine that the purpose is to foster, medium-density residential housing. Adequacy of traffic flow management within the site as well as in relation to adjoining streets and properties so as to minimize unsafe and harmful impacts. The project shows parking areas. As you can see on this road, people have limited parking along the road. Additionally, we're going to be in front of the planning board on May 20th, which will take, I believe, maybe not a closer look, but a more directed look at making sure that the turning and the parking for the site is adequate. And we hope that you make it finding that it's adequate. Compatibility, and this is where we get into some important language. The compatibility of the proposed structure used with surrounding land uses so as to minimize harmful impact or conflict with existing desirable neighborhood character, including views, vistas, and other aesthetic values. And then there's a series of elements I'll get to in 1 minute. So really what you're being asked to is not to look at whether this project interferes with someone's view or doesn't. You're looking at, does this, in fact, minimize any harmful impact or conflict with the general neighborhood values when taking into account certain other things, including views, vistas, aesthetic values of the neighborhood. So what I would argue to you is that this project is completely consistent with the neighborhood values, completely consistent with the neighborhood views and vistas and aesthetic values. I think the only real difference that I see in the development of Bayberry Lane over time has been the specific architectural elements that have been attributed to the houses that are being built. Meaning as you go along and as you look at our comparison, you're going to see that the houses are essentially similar. The heights are similar, the massing is similar, but there are different aesthetic components that are ascribed to the projects by the architects. I think Peter did a wonderful job here with this particular design, and you have that. You can form your own opinion about that. So in assigning whether or not this structure minimizes harmful impact, you're asked to look at 5 different elements. One is the prevailing character, examples of the distinguishing architectural features, height, scale, massing, setbacks, and average site coverage based on best available information within the neighborhood. So here, I think when you look at this project and you look at the existing neighborhood, you're going to see that the site coverage and your town planner has done a wonderful job in giving you the averages in the neighborhood, which this falls into, that this minimizes any harmful impacts associated with the prevailing character of the neighborhood. Height and scale shall be compatible with other structures on the lot, and the neighborhood shall maintain balanced proportions in relation to the building scale, height, width, roof shape, and roof pitch. It's a beautiful design. It's consistent with other again, heights. Most of these structures have been built to the allowable zoning height in the neighborhood, which is 30 feet above the existing ground level. Those of you that have been out there will see that as you come to this property, it drops down off the roadway. There's a change in elevation down of maybe a couple of feet. The houses on the other side are up maybe 2 or 3 or 4 feet. But the height and scale is consistent with the neighborhood. Massing shall maintain balanced proportions in relation to the lot area and other structures in the neighborhood. Again, a little duplicate in my mind of the previous standard, but I think that the massing of the structure is consistent with the neighborhood and other structures in the neighborhood. Setbacks. Where feasible and or permitted, the proposed project shall be sited on the lot to maintain and or enhance, if applicable, create a street front appropriate to the prevailing character of the neighborhood. Those of you who've been out there, and we'll see from the photographs, this structure is fairly heavily vegetated on both sides of the structure. So the view at street level of this is a house that's surrounded on both sides with some fairly heavy vegetation. And you'll see from some photographs when we get later in the hearing that vegetation extends all the way across the adjacent lot to the north, to the property on the north, and also extends to the south. So this structure, when looked at from the street, I understand that there's a 5.1 foot increase, maybe about that, on one side and 6 inches on the other, but from a scale and massing standpoint and from a street front aspect, that's not going to in any way meaningfully change the project as relation to other homes in the neighborhood. Building materials, exterior siding, roof, windows, doors, and trim should be compatible with desirable traditional materials. Again, it's a wood-sided building with attractive and pleasant architectural details that create some relief from the massing. So I'll go further on with this. Adequacy of the method of sewage disposal. Title V septic system obviously is being installed or has been installed. Protection of groundwater quality and recharge volume, water quality of coastal freshwater surface bodies. This property being within the 100-foot setback to the top of a coastal bank has to meet the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the local Eastham Wetlands Bylaw in terms of protecting those interests, which has to do with coastal erosion, protection of shellfish, habitat maintenance, groundwater protection. They've complied with all of those elements in demonstrating to the Conservation Commission that the project is appropriate. Adequacy of provision of utilities, they come off the street. Control of artificial noise, litter, odor, other sources of nuisance. I always believe that applies more to commercial special permits, but in this case, there's no reason to believe that this is going to in any way create a nuisance by reason of odor or noise or litter. Protection from degradation and alteration of the natural environment, including slopes, topographical features, vegetation, wetlands, and wildlife habitat. They're not working in the area of the coastal bank, and again, they've received that order of conditions from the Conservation Commission. So I'm hopeful that the board, after hearing this presentation, after looking at the site, and after looking at the neighborhood carefully and the character of that neighborhood, you'll find that this structure is consistent with and respects those elements, and that you'll grant the special permit. And finally, that you'll find that it's not, again, standard, not substantially more detrimental. And I'm going to ask you to remember that standard, substantially more detrimental as you do your analysis. And thank you all. I know that was the longest sentence of the evening, but thank you.
Breathe.
And I'll answer any questions that you have if I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Curious about the setback that you mentioned.
Yes,
So I understand what you're saying about the structure versus the deck, but it's a
Right.
pretty big difference the numbers that you gave us versus the increase in nonconformity.
Yes. The reason is because if the board, and I don't know if you all have copies of the site plan in front of you.
Yep.
But if you look, there are two plans that John O'Reilly prepared. They're great plans, but if you look at the existing site plan, existing condition site plan, and you look at the north side, the closest edge of the deck is 17.9. So the number that kind of goes to that bevel side of the deck right there, 17.9. If you look at the structure itself, the edge of the building is 23.7 feet,
Right.
which in this particular case, my concern really is what is the scale and what's the massing of the building, and what's the effective neighborhood of the massing. So, but for the purpose of establishing. Thanks, Wayne, I'm sorry. What would Freud say? So, in actuality, it's 17.9 at the deck, it's 23.7 at the structure, but when you look at the proposed condition site plan, there's a corner of a deck where the rinse station is. On the north side, it's 7.9 feet off, so that's significantly closer, but the structure itself is at 18.6 feet to the closest point of the structure. So I think a strict analysis of the zoning code is gonna say there's a 10-foot increase or decrease in the setback. But in terms of looking at what I think is important, which is the massing, what's this house doing, it's 5.1 feet. So, for what that's worth.
Understood.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that from the elevation from the street, the decks are below street level almost. So, and then the shower is a little bit higher. But I don't, from the street, I don't think that would be the issue as far as, but the edge of the house would be.
Correct.
I'd also take note that we did get a letter of recommendation from the abutters on that side, from 13 and 15 Bayberry. That's coming the closest to their sideline, and they've submitted a letter of support.
I think the vegetation that you mentioned, Ben, helps there, and it also leads to something I wanted to ask about. You talked about conservation approval of the mitigation plan. I don't want to get into that. That's not our purview. But what I think is in our purview is the way that the existing trees sort of screen this property from its neighbors to the left and right. Also, we might get into how it screens the view from across the street. But that and our 6-foot lot line anti-clear cutting range. My question is, because we don't have a copy of any of the mitigation plans or landscaping plans and things, is there a plan to leave those larger trees that are screening this house from its left and right neighbors?
I'm gonna let, if you don't mind, I'm gonna let Dave Silverman jump in on this because I don't have the answer on the landscaping plan. I think for the Conservation Commission, they want to see as much planting as they can get in there to create the habitat. So if you don't mind just letting Dave just describe what they're doing for
Sure,
planting
please.
on left and right. If you could, Dave.
Yeah, sure. Excuse me. There are some substantial trees that are in good shape, some cedars and so forth that we're obviously going to try to preserve. There are also some older cherry trees that are in kind of rough shape that we're going to assess. There's also some invasive species in some of those trees that may ultimately, when removed, prove to be too much for the tree and the trees may come down. But overall, the hope is that we keep as many of the mature trees on the property as possible.
Okay, that makes sense. And where it played in for me especially, I know I hear us often talk about, look at all these windows with lights in them that are facing the property next door. And on the south side of this, I don't think it's way too many windows for the house. I don't know if this is relevant, but I actually like this design. Nice job, Peter. I think it looks good. I think a lot of them don't. This one does. But there are substantial, more windows on that side. And when I looked at it, I said, first I looked at the plans, I said, uh-oh, this windows thing is going to come up. And then I got there and I said, oh, there are a lot of significant and mature trees on that side that really mitigate any of that concern, I think. So that's why I want to bring it up and at least have it in the conversation, that if, to the degree those trees stay, all those windows with lights in them don't matter that much, and vice versa.
Yeah, if I may, Ben, real quick, the hope is obviously that we preserve the privacy that we have from our adjacent neighbors.
Sure. Yeah, it's good for both.
Thanks.
Anyone else on the board? I've got a
Just
point.
real quick, so Ben, did they consider a design that didn't encroach so much more on the setback? Because 5 feet is, given the neighborhood, 5 feet's a lot.
It's, again,
Right.
yeah, it depends how you look at it. It is really, these projects are really driven by your zoning bylaw. And what's happened in your zoning bylaw over the last 3 or 4 years is you've instituted these house sizes that we work with, and everybody's trying to building to what's becoming a fairly small house size. So the allowable site coverage for this project is 1873. It's built to 1872. But it's 24 feet from the road, where 30 feet is allowed, and you do want to try to maintain some setback from the road. You can't go any closer to the bank. Conservation won't let you. So you kind of just, the only place where you can go is to the left or the right. So what they really tried to do is to have some go to the left and some go to the right. I don't know how you feel about that. You know, again, I'm going to impress upon you the substantially more detrimental test, but yes, there is a 5.1 foot increase in the building on that north side.
Right.
So, thank you.
And Ben, good evening.
Hey,
I
Mark.
do agree with you. I think the scale and scope, for the most part, for this neighborhood does fit in. I like the design. In looking at the property rights to the other neighbors, I think when I look at to the south side and the nonconformity there for the bump out for the dining room certainly makes sense because that works a lot with the house, makes the house flow. But similar to what we talked about over on Beach Plum, there was a project there last year, a new build, and they made some modifications to having also had a second-story deck overlooking their neighbor's lot. Now, I understand, lot number 9 is heavily wooded and the house is tucked in there, but it's probably one of the few houses that has not been renovated yet on Bayberry. So I would ask if you can help justify why the master bath needs its own deck facing the south. To me, it's.
I hate that question.
I know, and I didn't phrase it a very good.
No, the question, I understand it completely, but
to
it's
me,
just
it's-
always hard to just
from the
justify why
hardship-
you need something,
From the
so.
hardship to make your floor plan work, I'm fine with the bump out, and I'm fine giving you more space moving towards the sidewalk.
deck
to
looking
south.
over.
And the people that live there haven't spoken up against it. But I think creating living space on top of that section that jets out, just so you have a deck that faces the south, when you've got all types of decks that face the ocean and where the real view is. So for me, I would think that's impeding on number 9's, not just the windows, but the whole idea of living space overlooking lot number 9 Bayberry. That would be my pushback.
Thank you.
It seems unnecessary to me to have a deck off the master bathroom. What would it be used for? Sun tanning? Growing plants?
Drying.
All the above.
It seems to be just,
It-
to be blunt,
It's
frivolous.
Look, the structure's there. It's built. There's space above that structure.
Yeah.
It's a nice space to use. The owners are fairly limited in terms of the space on the lot. They can go out there. I haven't heard that there's an objection of that. It's a deck. It's not three-dimensional space.
Yeah.
So,
But it does protrude into the sight line, the direct, when you walk by,
Yep.
your direct sight line out to the sunset, out to the bay.
Mm-hmm.
You got the bump out on one story, and now you've got the deck bumping out on the next story. up.
Understood.
So it's,
no, I
just
just,
the 2% of the view that disappears, that's all.
understood. Okay, and look, if it turns out that that's what's going to keep this board from granting a special permit, we'll certainly talk with our clients about it, so,
Yeah. Well, we'll hear from the public as well. So.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
So just a point of discussion for the board. When we looked at, I know it was Beach Plum,
Yeah.
just behind this
Right.
this build, the windows on that building were very similar to what are being proposed here.
We're-
And we objected to that
they had-
because of the light
They had a
pollution.
tower
risk.
with windows on top of windows.
But they also had like a full wall of windows, as this
Oh,
does.
yeah.
Right? And we were concerned about light pollution, and yes, there are trees there today, but maybe there won't be in the future. It seemed to me, and like a lot of windows, that you could minimize the light pollution in that area if there were fewer windows in that area.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. Yeah,
Right.
that was-
Yeah, and if I may, that was actually my client, we permitted that. I think there were a couple of concerns. One was, when you went out on Beach Plum, you looked out, there was a house right there. There was,
And those folks,
and they were concerned about that light, and also that design had a vertical tower element that came up, as opposed to, and essentially I believe what happened was we removed that tower element and brought it back to this type of design, if I remember correctly. I don't have it in front of me. So, so again, look, we're here at your pleasure.
Yep.
So if you think that makes it substantially more detrimental, we're listening.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Just a general point, maybe a controversial one, but I would say the trend of that street itself could be deemed overall to be slightly detrimental. I don't think that, I think we'd be hard pressed to say the design itself is going to be substantially detrimental relative to that street, outside of the idea that in a non-conforming lot, we are widening and adding height. So just a general, and I guess the question would be to the owner, you know, could you be still as happy and comfortable and have your needs met in a slightly smaller space? It's just as a general question, this is
Generally-
bylaws aside and all that.
Generally, the answer is no. But again, this is a discretionary permit, and so I'm not going to ask Dave to answer questions, you know, from the board as to what he's willing to do at this point. We like to find out where we are and then go back and talk about it and look at it and see, you know, what it is that will work from a design standpoint to address your concerns. So, but to go to Alex's point, and I've said this so many times in front of this board, when you get to waterfront neighborhoods, there's two kinds of houses. The ones that have been rebuilt and the ones that haven't been rebuilt. And generally, the ones that have been rebuilt are built to deal with the zoning limitations that are there. Whether it's a size limitation imposed by the bylaw, whether it's a setback limitation imposed by the bylaw. Whether this neighborhood is detrimental as a whole, when I drive down that street, and I've driven down that street as much as you've driven, I've driven down it every time you've driven down it, I find that it's fairly well developed, and the houses all have a certain look, and they have a certain
They're very
verticality to
similar.
them. They have a certain verticality to them that's just driven by the landform and driven by the zoning code. The other dynamic that we're dealing here with is, it really depends on when you come along in the permitting process. So, you're gonna hear from me in a minute. There's somebody who had submitted a letter from 12 Bayberry. When they permitted that project in 2004, the planning board had a memo from, I think it was Terry Whalen, that said, this is the largest house in the neighborhood. That's no longer true. So, whether you think the neighborhood's getting away from something or not, I'm not sure. I think it's a good, generally, I think it's a good neighborhood. I think people get along. I think the designs are what they are and people work around them, so, if that makes any sense.
I agree, most of the projects that have come in on that neighborhood have had multiple neighbors of support and letters of support. I think it's a beautiful neighborhood. It has totally been redeveloped. I don't want to say the houses are too big, but they are oyster, you know,
Lacking some vegetation too on the north side.
Robust?
they're robust houses, that's what I was going to say, but not, they're certainly not, I wouldn't call them McMansions or anything like that.
No.
They're robust, that's the word I
They're
was looking
robust.
for.
But they're no longer little cottages.
So I do have, I think I have a sense of some of the particularized concerns of the members. The deck on the south side, I think the windows on the south side, and I think one of the members expressed the width. I'm not sure that any one of those concerns brings us into a substantially more detrimental category, but I'm listening to the board, and I'll be listening throughout this hearing. So, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the board before we open this up to the audience?
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, of
Just
course.
through you, we do have a few supplemental materials that have been submitted recently, including some additional abutter letters. So if you don't mind, I'll pass those out to you
Yes, please.
while you get ready for your public.
And I'll step back with the chair's permission so that other people can come to the table if they want, or?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie.
Mr. Sunny is here to represent students.
Okay.
This is going to be repeated.
Oh, okay.
You just see about the other day.
Yep, yes.
Yes.
You want this back?
Thank you.
I got mine.
All right.
Send a 6-page letter the day before, huh? Smart. Did I understand, is this attorney here? I don't know, Joanne, do we want to invite him to kind of present this, or do we want to sit quietly and read 7 pages?
Well, first of all, I'm bothered by the fact that we're getting it at the last minute
Right, that's what,
when we have.
From just a
no time
practicalities.
To study it.
No, I apologize for that. We have some information flowing in today. So
Yes.
well,
I-
fine, the
it's not
letter's
your
dated,
fault.
the letter's dated yesterday.
I could have gotten it to you
Okay.
at 8 a.m.
Right.
Essentially.
I'm tempted to suggest a continuance so that we have more time to read through this and,
I think we should hear from the public first.
yeah,
before we-
okay, let's do that.
Because they're
Yep.
all here.
All right,
and,
sure, yes.
And that gives everybody, both the applicant, an idea of
Okay.
what other
all
issues
right.
are going on.
I agree.
Yes, okay. So we will hear from the public, people here. But I want to keep that on the table. So,
Good evening. My name is Christopher Senni. I'm an attorney here on the Cape. I live in Brewster and have an office there. And I've been before your board on at least one other occasion. My practice is a small land use practice, and I've had a number of cases with Ben. Ben and I are always very cordial to one another, and as soon as I was retained in this matter, I reached out to Ben to let him know that we would be here tonight. I also came and visited Jacqueline yesterday, and I did submit a package at about 4 o'clock. Yesterday, I realized that's the day before the hearing, but it was the best I could do. By the way, after a short presentation, I will join in the sentiment that perhaps we could have a continuance that might allow time for my clients to meet with the applicant and discuss the project. I represent the owners of 10 and 12 Bayberry, which are right across the street, one just a little aligned to the south of the project site and one to the north. My clients are Sam and Aizen Dickinson at 10 Bayberry and Susan Rosen and Dan Rohrbach at 12 Bayberry. This is a little bit of an unusual case. I've been a land use attorney for 40 years, and I've been involved in a lot of Section 6 finding applications. We call this a Section 6 finding, the substantially not more detrimental, because it comes right out of the zoning statute, which is Section 6. In most cases, a lawfully non-conforming structure, which is non-conforming as to setbacks, tries to make some improvement, tries to reduce the degree of nonconformity on one side or the other, or in reshaping the house tries to bring about an improvement. Here, we don't have that. We have an expansion in all directions, 5.6 feet closer to the road, which was already a non-conforming setback, and a total of 12.8 feet wider, in addition to the height. So this application struck me when I first saw it as trying to maximize what they could get on this site. And usually when there's an application for a Section 6 finding, there's some attempt to try to make an improvement, and there is none here. I do agree with Ben that the key standard, which is 4.4 in your bylaws, is compatibility of the proposed structure or use with the surrounding land uses so as to minimize harmful impact or conflict with existing desirable neighborhood character, including views, vistas, and other aesthetic values. So if a zoning matter ever gets to court, the judge looks at whether there are private rights that are spelled out as being protected in the local bylaw. And here, there is a private right that a property owner has to not lose too much of a view or a vista when a project is proposed. And of course, it's a judgment call. This is your call. Your board will decide whether this is substantially more detrimental or not. I take the position that this has gotten itself very close to that line where I would say this may very well be substantially more detrimental, at least as to the two neighbors that I represent. By the way, all of my clients are here today, either in the room or online. I would like to take the board through some exhibits that were part of the package I submitted yesterday. Just 6 or 7 of the exhibits. And Jacqueline said that would be possible.
I'm going to go ahead and put those up on the screen.
thank
There's a
you.
lot of photos, so the printing was not ideal. Just a minute. One minute to shift that one. There we go.
So, Jacqueline, if we could go flip through to Exhibit B. This exhibit was prepared by my client. You can see the existing elevation of the home, and you can see the existing roof line. And the purpose of this exhibit is to demonstrate that there's about 10 feet of additional height that will block some view of the water when it's built. And there's a new bump out to the south side, which is fairly tall above what exists today, which will block more of the view. Exhibit C, the next exhibit. This is an overlay of the construction plan, the elevation of the proposed home, and you can faintly see in the background the chimney of the existing home. So really, the entire new second floor will start where the roof of the existing second floor is. So we're really basically adding a floor. And what makes that possible is the way the definition of basement works in the town. If more than 50% of your basement is underground, it doesn't count. And so really, this is going, in terms of the appreciation of this home from my client's point of view, it's going from what feels like a two-story house to what feels like a three-story house. That's where this is coming from. Exhibit D. Again, we superimposed the new elevation, an outline of the new elevation over a photograph of the home. And you can see there are views of the ocean above the house, and those will be lost. And it does expand outward. And then the next one is Exhibit E. This is just to demonstrate. I think when the application came in, I believe Mr. Zender did not know this, and I know Jacqueline did not know this. The question was, are there views presently over the house itself, or are they only off to the side? In fact, in the application, it states the new dwelling will occupy the same location as the existing and will not block any currently existing scenic views or vistas. That's not true, but I believe when Mr. Zender wrote that, he thought it was true. And the purpose of this and the next exhibit is to show you that at each of my clients' home, there is a second-story deck. And that's there because they want to enjoy the views of the water. And so they get these views, and those views will be lost. So the next one would be F. And here's what I mean about the view shed that was part of the application. Could that go up just a little bit more, Jacqueline? You can see the two decks on the homes of my clients, and the view shed was prepared with the assumption that there is no view over the home, but actually the entire area is the view shed because there are views over that home. And then Exhibit F, well, that is Exhibit F. Exhibit G, again, views of the water. And then with regard to the landscaping, Exhibit N. This is the landscaping plan, and you can see some new proposed trees. There are two down in the lower left corner, one in the far right lower corner, and one in the right upper corner. These trees will grow very tall. The trees are, the red cedar are the two in the lower left corner, and if you look at the landscape table in the application, those will grow from 30 to 65 feet tall. And the serviceberry is in the lower right corner and the upper right corner. They will grow to 15 to 30 feet tall. So these are, the trees that have been specified are likely to decrease visibility even more just because of the choice of trees that were made. We have a few suggestions, a few suggested possible improvements. And my clients did reach out to their neighbor about a week ago and had a good friendly conversation and asked the neighbor, would they be open to looking at some design revisions? The neighbor understandably said, not at this time. I hope that means perhaps in the future, they might consider some minor changes. And here's what we have in mind. I think the plan.
Excuse me, minor, the neighbors had some minor suggestions about the plantings or about the design of the house, or I'm not clear.
I believe my clients were more general and just said, would it be possible for us to discuss some changes to your plans? I don't think.
But your clients do have some specific things they would like to see changed, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us, does it have to do with the plantings, the 65 feet tall trees, or is it the house design itself?
It's both. I have a short list
Okay.
that I'll read just to inform the board of what we're thinking about and hoping we can have a discussion about. Narrowing the plan a bit. This is 12.8 feet wider. I think there are decks that, it's very generous decking, including on the south and north sides. And we'd like to ask the client, the applicant, are there chances that we could reduce that a bit? The bump out on the southern side is really just in the wrong spot. And we'd like a chance to talk about that bump out. It is much taller than what exists today, and it's all within the side setback that's being increased. Looking at roof styles, are there any other roof designs that might bring that roof height down somewhat? The different trees, I think a landscape architect could advise, are there some beautiful plantings that could be put in those four locations that would not grow as tall? And vegetation management. We'd like a chance to talk about how could we ensure that trees are growing where we want them to, but are not growing higher than a certain height. So again, I believe we're either close to or at the line where this, from my client's point of view, is substantially more detrimental. I would really very much like an opportunity to continue this matter, and my clients are very willing to sit down with the applicant and go over some of these general ideas to see if we might be able to improve the plan to the point where my clients come back and support the project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alex?
Question for you?
Yes.
I'm relatively new to this, but maybe there's others that share this question. And I don't want to sound naive. I understand the importance of views and why we live here, but how is view defined in the bylaws of zoning and as you see it? You know, if you look across and you have a more beautiful home than currently stands there, does that get factored in? And does view only matter to several members? Or could that be broadly construed for the whole neighborhood as a whole?
Yeah. It depends on the bylaw. Some zoning bylaws don't mention view. And this is up to each town to decide. Your bylaw has section 4.4 that does mention view. View can be a private right that is intended to be protected by the zoning statute and the local zoning bylaw. How view falls in the hierarchy of potential impacts that your board considers, traffic, congestion, density, and other factors in your standards, is a gray area. But it's there, it exists, it's in our bylaws here, and here we have a significant impact. My clients have said to me, and even put in their statements which we submitted, that they're not trying to thwart a raise and rebuild of a very nice home here. But it seems to my clients and to me that this has been maxed out. And we simply would like to have an opportunity to talk with the applicant about, can we modify this in a way that it will be a little bit less impactful on the two neighbors that I represent.
The photos that you presented in the exhibits, where were they taken from?
The two decks,
They were from the decks.
yes.
Is there any view below, from the windows on the floor below those decks?
There are even views in the driveway in the non-foliage season. When the foliage comes out, it's obstructed, but even on ground level, there are views in the off-season. My clients understand they're going to suffer an impact on their views, but it's the degree that we're focused on.
Attorney Sane, I do appreciate some of the points you brought up, especially around the decking. And I do think that when the deck is extending out past the wings of the house, now that's impacting the view sight lines out to the water as well for both pedestrians and property owners. And I do appreciate the tone of your comments about the idea that this project is going to happen, and it's just a matter about how it gets shaped and what type of mitigation gets worked out. So I'd be very supportive to hear that you meet with the clients and come back next month and
Thank you.
address a few of these topics. But yeah, I think the decking caught my eye as well. That I know it was big, and I'm okay with pulling the house closer to the street because it's the coastal dune. So we've done that in other cases.
Right.
You heard me make comments about the bump out. I was sort of attacking the second story, the deck off the master bathroom.
Right.
I thought that interfere with the view, but when you show it with your study, it does show that narrow view through the houses is just, does get impacted. So looking forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ben, would your clients be willing to consent to a continuance and having?
I'd like to sit and respond to the comments.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, great.
Okay.
Well, is there any other public comments?
I had one comment question that was well formed a minute ago. Let me think back to it. I take your points on about this being designed to the max, and Mr. Zender mentioned that too. And frankly, at that point, I try to keep my smart quips to myself. But I thought, as Mr. Zender said that, well, how is it my problem that they want to max it out? But it's our problem because the rules say here's how big you can go, and they're gonna want to maximize that. That's fair. So it comes back to that substantially detrimental to the neighborhood question, which we've both agreed is the question here. As I start to break that down, the question for me, I guess I'm just sharing this comment for the board, and as we head further into this case, it's what I want to get a little smarter on is. I can understand what detrimental is. I can understand what substantially detrimental is. I'm not sure I understand what a neighborhood is. In terms of, is it this street? Is it all the neighbors on the north and south? Is it two houses across the street that are particularly impacted while nobody else really cares? I think that to me becomes the interesting question. Is substantially detrimental to the neighborhood? Okay, what's the neighborhood?
Good question.
Is there any more there may be some other additional public comment that I need to respond to. I'm not sure.
No, I'm done.
No, let's hear from you again.
Well, I mean, are there other members of the public that want to
Anybody
speak
else in
to
the public that
Oh,
wants to
the-
respond?
Is there anybody who would like to speak to this? Or voice your concerns, or ask questions?
No, I think the attorney represented
Okay,
4 people.
all right.
So
Thank you.
I have a lot to get to before we talk about a continuance. And I can tell you right now, I'm not going to be seeking a continuance. But I'll address those factors when we get there. First of all, there's no private right to a view in Massachusetts. And what you're being asked to do is to really walk a very fine line between, does this project comply with the bylaw requirements of compatibility of the structure with surrounding land uses so as to minimize harmful impacts with the existing desirable neighborhood character when taking into effect views, or whether it means you have to protect a private view. And generally speaking, and again, I don't want to lecture on the law. But generally speaking, you sit behind that bench to protect the interests of the town and the neighborhood. You don't sit behind that desk to protect the individual rights of abutters. They have a right to come and be heard and to raise those issues. So you deal with the municipal benefits and detriments, and the neighborhood benefits and detriments. And Mr. Senni, my brother, will deal with the private rights and the private benefits. So the question for you is whether or not this in some way, does it minimize harmful impacts, including views and vistas on the neighborhood itself? So I think that's the standard you're working under. Second thing, the exhibits you just looked at were prepared, I assume, by a layperson. They're not scaled. And as we all know, computer-generated images are very, very difficult to understand in terms of how they actually will look when you actually build something in real life. So I'd ask you to take that into consideration, that when those were prepared, and I'm sure that they were prepared in good faith, but that's a difficult thing to understand. Another thing that's backwards here, I love it when they get backwards because they get to think about things. Usually I sit at this table and we're arguing about screening because people want screening. Now we're sitting here talking about screening because the neighbors don't want screening, meaning they don't want to have vegetation interfering with the views that they have or they may have. I'm going to circulate, just if the board doesn't mind, a picture. And this was taken off a Zillow listing for one of the properties across the street. This is a view through the windows of, I don't know if it's 12 or 10, looking across the street at this property. And you can maybe just send it down the line. I wasn't sure I was going to have to use this, but I think it was raised because one of the members asked the question of what is the view from the house itself. And if you don't mind, could you put up my exhibits? And
Sorry, can I just ask for clarification? So what is, because I don't have one in front of me, what is this picture?
this is a picture of a view from, and I don't know whether it's 10 or 12, across the street. It's from one of the Zillow listing photos online.
And do we have a date on that photo?
I don't even know that.
Summertime.
Summertime, it's just looking across the street from the deck.
I'm asking because, houses have been redeveloped.
It looks like new construction
so
inside
I'm-
the house.
I just want to clarify that, and I don't know if the owners can clarify that.
I can represent that it's an undated photograph showing a view from 12 or 10 across the street at this property. So, and that's just to address the concern of one of the members of what is the view currently. And Jackie, if you wouldn't mind putting that up. So to get back to my point, on screening, your job is to make sure that we comply with the bylaw, meaning we can't be removing trees within the 6-foot thing. We put in vegetation to comply with conservation requirements of mitigation and restoration. But what the neighbors are asking for here is they're asking for something that you should not be involved in. And they're asking for this not only by request, but also dynamically. They're asking for a view easement. In fact, their letter specifically says they want a view easement. Now, a view easement is a legal document which you perpetually restrict your property to the benefit of somebody else that allows them to come onto your property and cut trees and minimize structures. So I'm just going to say you should not be involved in any question of a view easement, and you shouldn't be involved dynamically in the question, because what they're asking to do and what you're kind of going along with is, look, why don't we continue so we can talk about it? What they want is they want the leverage of your decision-making to force us to come to the table and agree to what they want, so they come back and agree to, it's a dynamic that I am never willing to enter into. I just won't. And that may sound harsh, but we're not gonna go on bended knee to our neighbor because you're sitting there. We will certainly address concerns that this board has. And I'll tell you again in a minute what we're willing to do in that way. And I'm not trying to be combative. I just don't like being forced into a room under pain of a denial so that the neighbor can say, why don't you give us a view easement? Which is something that we can't do.
What if we set the view question to one side and we talk about increasing the nonconformity?
Yes, I think that's an absolutely fair question to ask.
I think that's
I think
where
that is.
we need to focus.
Yeah, and so what I would say is, and I've already been texting with my client, we'll lose the deck on the south side. What that does is that preserves that view down the left side of the property, which is really the view that's, I think, is being impacted. We'll certainly, and if you want to approve this and say, we have to resubmit to lose the deck on that second floor, we're more than happy to do that. Changing the width of the house involves a fairly substantial, almost complete redesign of the structure because of floor plans and everything else. We don't want to go there if we can help it. We certainly want to lose that deck. But I do want to just show the board this picture. This is also from a Zillow ad for the property that we found online. That arrow that's there was part of the Zillow picture. We did not add it into there. But that's pointing to number 12, Bayberry. The house to the left is number 10, Bayberry. And right across the street is the applicant's house. And when the board looks at this, they're going to see a couple of things. One is they're going to see that there's a fairly significant verticality and mass and scale to the neighbors at 10 and 12 Bayberry Lane. And you're also going to see that their views from their second floor decks are pretty significant to the left and the right of this structure. So the only view that really I think is going to be impacted by this project is either 5.1 feet of structure on one side, which is really, I would say this, it's not that people are worried about the impact on their view, it's that they don't like the change in their view. People don't like change. 5.1 feet on the right of that house is going to be negligible when that house is built. But there's a view over that house, and that is directly where the private right to a view comes in. That has nothing to do with neighborhood character. So when you look at this picture, you'll see that there's a fairly significant view corridor. And as you saw that was in your package before that Jackie put up when my brother asked for it, there are view sheds to both sides that are significant. So we're maintaining those. Those are being maintained. But if you don't mind, Jackie, go to the next picture. This is 10 Bayberry. This house was built at 29.8 feet above average elevation, according to its plans that were submitted to the building department. This side of the street, as you may notice, sits about 4 feet above the street. Our client sits about 2 feet below the street. So this is 29.8 feet above that elevated grade. And if you don't mind showing me the next picture, Jackie. This is it from kind of the other side. So what the prior owners of this property did, they built the biggest house that they could build within the confines of zoning. That's exactly what they did. They built it as tall as they could, and they built it as wide as they could. So, and I understand that. I would be here asking for permission for them to do that. You'll see the second floor deck where the views come from. Next picture, if you don't mind. This is, if you go up there, and I'm sure you guys didn't do this, but there's a paper road that runs between this property and the properties in the back. And you all may remember the Beach Plum one we just talked about. Beach Plum's on the other side of this road. I drove my truck down there. Difficult to turn around. I had to stay out of people's property, so I didn't do that. This is the effect that 10 Bayberry has on the view of the people behind them, who are sitting below grade to this right here. So this house was built with the exact same program, architectural program, that we're doing. It's just their ox is being gored at this point instead of then. So that's this. Now, if you don't mind going to the next one, Jackie. This is 12 Bayberry, okay? Again, this is a house that was built to the setbacks. I don't know whether it was built to the height because the zoning information on file didn't show a height above average grade. It looks pretty close to me. It looks pretty close. Now, the next picture, if you don't mind, Jackie. This is the other side. This would be on the South Street side. I had to take these pictures from the street because I can't enter upon private property. Again, this is a house that was built to maximize interior floor area. You can see by looking at that architecturally. I don't blame anybody here. What I'm saying is that people on this street tend to build within what the law allows them to build, and they come to the board. So what we're asking you to do is to build essentially the same architectural program. And finally, I'm going to say this. I hate to say this. There's a reason why the houses on the water cost more, substantially more, because you can't build in front of them. So when you buy a piece of property on the street side, you're going to find a substantial diminution in the value of that land. It's still very valuable, but that lot might be $1 million instead of $2 million. And the reason for that is because the waterfront lot has private property rights that the street behind them don't have. And the zoning purview is not to try to equalize those imbalances in value. Your job is to look at this structure and to say, as designed, is it substantially more detrimental than what's there right now, given the existing neighborhood characteristics and what we've submitted? And I think, look, we're more than happy to remove that deck. I think that will provide that view corridor. We would really rather not go back and try to come up with a new architectural program to cut 5.1 feet off the side, because that's a lot of floor area on a house that's already only 1,873 square feet. But that's essentially what I wanted to say. Let me just look at my notes. There's always something I forget to say.
Yeah, Before you go on, because.
Yeah, no, that's, I hit the end of my list,
Too much,
Martin,
but we're
so,
not,
yeah.
you can obviously speak again. I'll give a few of my comments on, I think most of my comments I was making about the view, I was responding about pedestrians and from the street. And I think I specifically said that earlier. So I wouldn't be in favor of insisting on there being any type of a view easement. But if that's something that gets negotiated, that's out of, I agree,
won't be.
that's out of my purview.
It won't be.
The second point I'll make is when the neighbors meet and talk about a project, in my experience on the board for the past 3 years, it's been almost always good results coming out of that. So it sounds like the neighbors have said, or at least some of the neighbors have said, we understand the building's going to be here. We understand it's going to be a larger house than was there, but we want to make some adjustments or advocate for adjustments. And I think some of the things that we talked about, like you said, the second floor deck and so forth. I don't know how that would get handled here tonight versus.
What I would do, and I've done it with different boards, again, every board's different. And again, I'm not suggesting you take a vote right now. You may not be near that point. But if you get to the point of a vote, you could approve it subject to provision to the planning department of a new plan showing the removal of the south side second floor deck. You know, so that's something that's not uncommon in terms of the way that conditions are framed. It keeps us from coming back another month and dealing with this and hoping you have a quorum and hoping the same members are here and.
Yeah, I will say from my experience, asking for a house to get redesigned couldn't delay a project for, the better part of a year. You lose a lot, but, that was my initial, I'll let you continue, Ben. I think you had another point.
Well, just to address the final point, on a continuance, look, it's not usual that we come in here in one shot and get an approval. You know that. There are concerns come up. There are continuances. So if this board believes that there's something that you're looking for in this project that will keep you from finding that it's substantially more detrimental, then I'm taking notes. But if you want to send us out to have a conversation with neighbors that have already asked for a view easement just because they submitted their materials the day before the hearing, I'm not in favor of that. So you have to figure out whether you're ready to take a vote or not and under what conditions, and I'll respond to whatever that readiness is.
Madam Chair, if I may, you do have a member of the public on Zoom who's been waiting to speak.
Oh, very good.
Okay.
Are you prepared for that? Okay. Susan, there you go. Yep, you are unmuted. You go ahead.
Great, thank you. I just want to say I'm one of the owners of 12 Bayberry, and I just want to address the photo that was just shown, which is not a photo that we've ever taken. It appears to be a drone photograph that was taken by a prior property management of our property way before we owned it, and it is not an accurate depiction of the view in any way, shape, or form. And the photo that our attorney did present a few minutes ago was an actual photo that we took from our deck. So I just want to clarify that. It is absolutely not an accurate depiction in any way of what you see from our property. Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out. Anybody else online would like to say something? Okay. I'm back to the setback problem and the expanding of the incursion. I would like to see the
South side.
master bathroom deck removed and run that line all the way down.
Okay.
Not just that little deck, but we're talking there about 5 or more feet, I believe.
I think you're pointing to the south side?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, so you're saying get rid of the bump out?
Yes.
Okay,
Just
understand.
just run the line straight down,
Okay.
that side of the house.
Thank you.
What about the deck on the ground? That one stays as is?
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
preference?
both stories. Yeah?
Oh, yeah, both
Yes,
stories. I think,
Both stories, not just the second.
No, I understand. You're asking to remove the structure, you're asking to remove that entire
out.
bump out as
The
it
bump out.
extends past the main portion of the house.
Absolutely.
I understand.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm not telling you it's agreeable, but wait, I understand exactly what you're
question,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I think, Justin, were you asking about the same thing with the back deck extending to the south as well? Is that what you were asking about?
I don't think I brought up the deck.
Yeah, because that then
You just mentioned about
extends as
Maybe
well.
Alex did?
Oh, maybe it was Alex, I
Yeah,
heard say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we get. So I think Ben, I think part of the ask might be take the front right corner, front left corner of the house. 'Cause you're bumping out twice. You bump out once for the bump out, and then the deck rail bumps out a second time. It's not that clear in the drawings, but I think the idea was to just,
Slice it off.
Well, I think what you're suggesting is you take the line of the front right corner and you run that straight back.
Yes.
right, including the back deck, which it's a very large deck, and that looks like about 3 feet of, the deck would be 3 feet narrow. Just that you're bringing.
But you're talking about but is the ground level deck a problem?
Yes, as well.
So you're suggesting no structures to the left of that front left corner of the house?
I'll go back and look and see what.
I just think we should consider the actual height of that deck, which is, close to road grade, right? Because the property's down there. So I'm not saying yes or no, we should insist, but
I'm just saying that.
I'm worried that we're insisting and maybe we shouldn't be. That's all I'm bringing up.
Well, the thing is, it's within the setback. That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, well, I see that.
And it's pushing further into
And
the
and it's
setback.
not the setback, sometimes when people in the setback, it's, that the design doesn't work, we're adding a bathroom and the design doesn't work and you can see it. This is just creating an extra 50 square feet of deck when you already have several hundred square feet of deck back there. And we're allowing more deck into the easement, well, not the easement, the setback. So by the time you're entertaining on that, and you're grilling on that, that's still a visual impact to pedestrians walking by. But that's just my opinion, so.
I understand completely what you're asking, Martin.
It makes the house skinnier.
I know.
Even though-
And it reduces the intensity of the activity. People could be on the ground using it, but it reduces.
Because
I
we're
understand.
increasing the intensity to the front, we're increasing the intensity to the north.
I understand.
And if we could reduce it to the south, at least that's a short win.
Yeah, we're trying to
Okay.
hold the line somewhere.
Okay. I'm taking notes. Thank you.
And I don't think that would be and I don't want to comment on a major redesign or not, but.
Okay. Any other comments from the board that I need to be aware of?
No, I agree. I mean, I think reducing the encroachment on the setbacks on both sides of the house
Yes, yes,
makes sense.
yes.
I think when it comes to the height of the house, does anybody feel, we've got the
It's under
set height,
30 feet,
everybody,
isn't it?
everybody, we're always going to 30 feet. These are the types of properties that we're dealing with all the time.
Based on the size of the other homes down there that have been redeveloped, I'm not overly concerned with the roof
So
line.
when we look at this type of roof line, I don't see how you have 2 above-grade living spaces.
Except that the bump out's already
shallow
there.
line.
That bump out's already there on the
Oh, I know on the other one, yeah.
left side. It's
On the
already,
existing.
on the existing, it's already there.
But that's what I was saying, but since you're increasing 2 intensities, we were going to appreciate the fact that.
I
you're
understand. So
decreasing
you're asking us to
double.
reduce the intensity on the south side in consideration of the increase.
Yeah, that's what that- yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. I
I
understand.
got a pretty bad head cold. Thanks,
Yeah.
Ben.
Yep.
Okay, I understand. Any other members?
Now, the question is, well,
So
yes. Yes.
Yes,
come
last
in.
question
Counter,
for
yes.
last question for the board, though. Are we okay with the window configuration, or do we think they should look at addressing the light pollution?
My opinion, when I look at the lights, And Ben was sort of reminding us of what the other house looked like. It was a tower of windows on three sides.
Yeah, you're right.
And it was very contemporary.
You're right.
I might like it.
Correct.
But I think when I look at the windows here on this southern elevation, that looks to be the amount of glazing that we'd see on a new home
Okay.
these days.
Okay.
There is more glazing facing water from here to here.
Right.
And when I look at the south elevation, maybe maybe if they agree to remove the bump out, those windows become smaller.
Maybe.
Either way, they're pushing back.
Yep.
So, I think some impact there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I
Yes, of course.
respond briefly? There was a question, what is the neighborhood with regard to the standard, not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood? The courts have been pretty clear about this. Courts actually don't respond well to a zoning appeal that is general to a neighborhood. And the courts always require that there be a private right asserted by a given property owner with regard to a standard of protection in the bylaw. So it's a very good question, what is the neighborhood? But I can tell you from many zoning appeals that when you get to court, the court is asking, what does this plaintiff stand to lose? And is that a right that is protected in the zoning bylaw? So I know it's only 2 homes, but I think in the context of land use and zoning, that they are part of the neighborhood.
You mentioned a right protected in the zoning bylaws. Is either 10 or 12 Bayberry have a right protected in the bylaws to that view?
They have a right in section 4.4 to not have their views unreasonably obstructed. Or the standard is that it should not be adversely reduce those views. So yes, it's in the bylaw, and because it's in the bylaw, it is a protected private right, and that's what zoning is about. I'll ask Ben to point out in my letter where I mentioned view easement, and maybe he can take a moment and look through.
Maybe it was in the email.
You did mention the maintenance of those trees and an agreement on maintenance in going forward.
Yes,
So that to me,
yeah.
view that you want.
We're interested in some conditions attached to a special permit that's granted. We have no interest in a private view easement and have never mentioned that, and it's not in my letter.
All right, thank you.
It was an email request to my client, and then, when it's asking the board to impose a condition, the only difference is the form. I mean, if you're imposing a perpetual condition in your zoning permit, that we, for example, trim trees or keep them at a certain height or don't
Right,
plant
right.
anything, it operates as a view easement.
Yeah. The only thing, and I don't think we're here to decide what the tree selection is going to be. I think that would happen in conservation, right?
Well,
They've already approved it.
conservation is looking at protecting the resources.
The bigger and the more trees and the bigger. for that.
Exactly. Your charge is to look at adverse impacts. So you can take a look at a landscape plan and you can add conditions if it is in the interest of protecting zoning rights, which view is a zoning right. So I never wrote an email to Ben's client. I'm not sure what he's talking about. But in any event, we are not trying to have a continuance here so that we can force them to enter into an agreement. We would like to negotiate some changes and some possible conditions to be attached to a granted special permit. We'd like to be back here in a month supporting a project that is an improved project. In terms of 10 and 12, this photograph was presented to you. It's not dated, and it's a photograph of a house that's not there anymore.
Right,
This
that's
was
what I was thinking.
before a raise and rebuild of number 10, and it's a first-story floor photograph, so it doesn't show any views. With regard to 12, there was a raise and rebuild at 12, and when my client did that before this board, my client stayed within the existing footprint and did not make any side setback nonconformity worse. He stayed right where the existing house had been. I urge you not to take an action tonight when it is clear that there will be amendments to the plan. I think these are significant enough amendments that the matter should be continued so that the applicant can prepare plans that show the changes that you've asked the applicant to consider. Attorney Zender mentioned that the bump out is already there. the bump out is much lower than the bump out that's proposed. It's increased in height a considerable amount. I know you've already talked to Mr. Zender about getting rid of that bump out. So that's all I have. I do urge the board, I appreciate that you have expressed some concerns with the degree of widening. And it sounds like you're not that concerned with the property coming closer to the road. I understand that. And with height, the structure is allowed to be 30 feet from existing grade, and it is. It's under that level, so I appreciate that. However, there are different styles of roofs, and some have a taller peak than others, and we would like that opportunity if the applicant is willing to sit with us and talk about the design. In any case, I think your board has heard a lot and spoken a lot. I do think the application has pushed this out to the maximum, and I think there should be some changes to the plan. I appreciate the comments the board has made, and we do hope that the matter will be continued, which would allow us to do something we've been asking for from the beginning, which is to sit down with the applicant and talk about the plan. Thank you.
Madam Chair, a couple comments, if you don't mind.
Yes,
One is I will be-
and then we have somebody in the audience.
I will be requesting the continuance. Well, okay, I'm sorry, I'll allow you to let them speak. No, one thing is we will be requesting the continuance. I do want to make sure when I go out of here, if there are any other concerns or things that the board wants to address, that I have that complete list going out of here, that, as we always do. I have to say I couldn't disagree with Attorney Sonny more as to private versus public rights, and I see little wheels going in your heads as he was speaking. There's a private right, his clients have a right of appeal. If in fact this permit somehow jeopardizes their rights, and they are presumed to be aggrieved parties, when you sit there, you're not there protecting their private rights. You're sitting there protecting the public right. And so when you look at the bylaw, and it talks about the compatibility with existing desirable neighborhood character, including views and vistas, it doesn't say you're there to protect private rights. And so I don't know that this is an overwhelming legal concern at this point in the hearing, but I can't let that go unchallenged. If they decide to appeal this decision to one of the courts, certainly they're going to have to demonstrate under the statute that there's an impairment of a legal right that they have under the bylaw. But that's not for you to decide right now. You have to decide the substantially more detrimental question.
Right.
So, but I am going to request a continuance because I think that there may be some more comments that come forward in the next couple minutes, but I do think that there have been some requests made that don't allow us to redesign this on the fly, meaning we're going to have to come back and address some concerns. And I will certainly reach out to Attorney Sonny and listen to what his clients have to say.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen in the audience.
Sam Dickinson, 10 Bayberry.
It's all online, so people won't hear you.
I was going to just make a comment because, appreciate the fact that our materials were submitted late, our letters. We spent a lot of time, a lot of thought putting those thoughts together. We didn't get our abutter notice probably until a couple days before this hearing. So I just want to make sure you all have plenty of time. I know I apologize, they're a little lengthy, but we want to make sure we kind of flesh out the entire picture. And so I want to make sure you all have time to take a look at those and give it some thought. I will just repeat what our attorney said. We are 100% supportive of the applicants building a house. It looks beautiful. I think it's a gorgeous design. I think it, will, we had a one-story ranch that's from the 60s, so it would be a nice house to look at. We're just looking for it to be done in a reasonable way and have an engagement in terms of a conversation to talk about some of our concerns further.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, can I speak?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Anna Davis, one of the owners. I just want to say that my husband, David Silverman, has spoken with the neighbors. We've exchanged emails, and I honestly don't think a month continuance is going to change the fact that what they want is, I have it in writing here, a specific recorded view easement and preserve the view corridor. So I think what we need to do is not have us go back and have a conversation together because we've already done that. We need the board to decide what their purview is and what their decision is so we can move forward. Because we've already done all of this discussing and we understand what they're looking for, and now you know what they're looking for. So it's really a matter of moving forward at this point.
Ben?
At the risk of incurring the wrath of my client, I'm going to request it continues to June 4th.
You
You want,
I do, but I've heard from, is there any other concerns members have
let me,
before I stop?
all right,
Yeah.
let me cut off the public comment section of this meeting. And Ben, you had another question or?
No, I've heard,
I think what Ben would like to hear a little bit of commentary from the board
Yes,
on, is there
I
anything
was
else?
going there.
We talked about in that front left corner and sharing off the bump out in the back deck. That would, to me, would preserve the view between the two lots. Wouldn't make the house that much smaller.
And it would help with the,
Yeah, so we talked about that, that's one thing. When we talk about the height of the house, every house that gets built these days is right up there within a few inches of the top. And we do push back on that sometimes when there's a good reason to. But here, every house is maxed out to the height. So for me, there would be nothing else other than that. Like, if that's, I would be okay, not okay with, it's, I don't have anything else unless somebody else does.
No, I don't.
Justin?
The trees and the trees, if you pick different trees that make the neighbors happy and that helps them write a letter of support, that's great for next month, but I'll leave that up to you and your clients.
All right. If there's nothing else from the board, I would like a motion to continue this case to June 4th.
I'll second that.
Who made the motion? Who
Motion?
made the motion?
You making?
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I said I'm asking for a motion.
I move that we continue this case until June the 4th.
I will second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And me as well. All right, so it's 5-0 and unanimous, and we will see you in June.
always good to see you all. Thank you. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next case is case number ZBA 2026-05, 30 Cove Road, map 18, parcel 23. Kenneth Kandari, owner, seeks a special permit and/or a variance pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 8, and Eastham Zoning Bylaw, Section 4.4, alteration of a non-conforming building to increase the height of a detached accessory structure that is pre-existing non-conforming as to setbacks. The applicant seeks an additional special permit pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 8, and Eastham Zoning Bylaw, 7.4.9.1, site plan approval, special permit, to expand a single-family dwelling that is pre-existing non-conforming as to site coverage and standards, and a vote will be taken.
Madam Chair,
Seated on this case
go ahead.
will be Mr. Ridge, Mr. Byrd, Mr. Sheldon, Mr. Kennington, and me.
And there's a one-page supplemental filing
Okay,
to add to your packets, and we'll pass those down.
okay.
Page? That's what I assumed. Yeah, it looks that way.
All right. Too much paper. Okay. Just one moment, please. Thank you. I'm trying to sort through paper.
A lot of big work on that last one.
Yes. All right. All right. Who is speaking to us, please?
Good evening. My name is Tom Timko. I'm the architect for the project from Copper Beach Design. And to my right is Mr. Ken Kundari, the owner. I will be speaking mostly, but he's also here for questions and answers and so forth. And I'm hoping that our case is a little bit simpler than the last one. We are here tonight to address some proposed renovations to 30 Cove Road. Mr. Kandari and his wife recently purchased that property. They're looking to move there from Framingham, ultimately full-time, and make that their permanent location. He has family on the Cape, so he's sort of familiar with this area, and they're looking to take a house that was built in 1952 and has had a few upgrades, but not a lot, and bring it into the 21st century and make it a comfortable house for long-term. What we are looking to do here, the relief we're asking for, is relatively simple. We're looking at adding a small infill section of 35 square feet at the front of the house, an extension at the rear of an interior family room at 182 square feet and a sunroom at 195 square feet. All of this is within the existing extents of the house. The house itself is fully conforming. The lot, however, is not. It's a 17,700 square foot lot in a 40,000 square foot lot zone, so it's an existing non-conforming lot. But from a setback standpoint, the house is fully conforming. The garage, however, is not. And the other piece of relief that we are looking for is to increase the ridge of the garage, by the height of the ridge of the garage by 2 feet, from approximately 17 feet now to 19 feet. For the purpose of being able to take the existing second floor of the garage, which is now not particularly usable, and turn that into a more functional space where Mr. Kandari can use as a wood shop. He is an amateur woodworker and builds furniture and things like that, and he wants to have a place up there where he can actually build things and construct things. So what the other piece that we're looking for here is with the different size increases on the main house, the existing site coverage is already non-conforming at 15.1%, which means that we can look at a special permit for a change in that site coverage, and we're looking with those increased floor area additions to the one-story house, that would take us to a site coverage of 17.4%. Which is a change from about 2,678 square feet to about 3,077 square feet. So not a huge amount, but it is over the site coverage limit, although it is under the maximum site coverage allowed by special permit. So that is pretty much what we're looking for. We're not changing the house itself. It is a single-story house. We are not changing the height, and we're not touching any nonconformities there. We're not creating any new nonconformities. The only nonconformity that we really have to deal with is the height of the garage, which is a function of the distance from the side setback. And that side setback of the garage today is nonconforming. So it is. So we're looking to make that change. Additionally, that garage is fully screened on the side between it and the neighbor with some fairly substantial trees. And it is not going to be a particularly visible change to that neighbor. That neighbor is also present tonight and will speak to this if requested. But they are comfortable with the proposed changes. And I think that's pretty much it. To keep it simple.
A simple question. What is this, if I were to be standing on the second floor of the garage, how far above my head would the ceiling be?
Well, we were over there this afternoon, and I went up there just to take a couple extra photographs. And I am 6'1", and if I was eligible for a basketball team, I would be hitting my head on the ridge. So it's about the underside of the ridge is about 6'6", 6'8", roughly.
Okay, thank you.
And also peaked at this point, right? So
Yeah.
that's only in the very center.
Right.
Right.
Right. Was this originally two separate houses that were joined together?
It was originally a house and a detached garage that were connected. So the detached garage was turned into a rental apartment at some point in the past, and with a breezeway, which was then turned into a living room. So there have been many layers of changes
Yeah.
over the years,
Right.
which is not particularly unusual in this area. And where it's landed is that we have half a dozen different construction phases, all of which are bumping into each other in terms of quality and condition and so forth.
Are you opening up that, the standalone apartment? Is that getting now joined with the main house, or is that going to remain a?
It will remain, the intention is for it to stay as a standalone apartment for now. We are looking at putting a connecting door there
I see on page seven, yeah.
in case family wants to stay there, but that would be separated and sealed off if it was actually rented.
All right,
If I may, I'm sorry, were you?
No,
still-
I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
I observed at least one other detached garage that was 2 stories. Maybe there was 2 nearby in the neighborhood. Do you know, do those fall within the setback, or are those already conforming? I'm just curious.
I can't speak to whether they fall within the setback. I know that there are a number of them like that. Not quite a fair amount, maybe a fair amount of new construction, or definitely a lot of rebuilding in that area. And there are across the street at least one, I believe, 2-story garage.
Correct.
Just almost directly across the street. And I think there was another one a little further down. So it's not unusual to that neighborhood.
Yeah, the 2 stories itself seems within character, but just curious to know if those other 2 stories were conforming. And then it looked like no windows on the front side of the garage in the proposed.
There's
Design.
currently a barn, like a hay door or a barn door up there, which I can't really speak to as why they did that, because the prior owner didn't really use that space, but we're looking at maintaining that actually as if there was a condition where Mr. Gandari created some furniture and he had to lift it down to the driveway level or something like that, rather than trying to negotiate the stairway.
But that would be closed.
It would be
mainly.
closed. It would be closed, and it would not be glazed. It would be just like a barn door, almost essentially the same as it is today. Perhaps a little bit, just slightly bigger.
Thank you.
I would say on my review of the plan, that was the one concern I had, was the immediate neighbor And I wanted to hear whether the immediate neighbor was in agreement with it or not. That weighs heavily for me. So I hear you've said that, so having that confirmed would be good.
Yes,
Can
I believe you
interrupt
received.
you?
Sure.
Sorry, yes, we do have a letter of support from that neighbor, received this week.
It's in our package or it's just came in?
Everything came in really quickly this week,
Okay.
but I'll pass that on down
Oh,
to
okay,
you.
as
Just
long
that
as
there
it's
are
said, and no one's just,
there's two
no,
quick
it's just
emails of support, and there is also a letter that came in yesterday, 2 days ago, with some concerns, so I'll pass that down to you as well. And if you don't mind, just on the question of the nonconformity of the setback of the attached garage, there's some context there. I do not have the date off the top of my head, but historically, at some point in our history, the standard setback was 12 feet for all detached accessory structures. That was then changed to include 12 feet or the height of the building, which essentially made a whole lot of garages non-conforming to their setback. So not uncommon.
So we have 2 letters of support and 1 that's expressed concerns.
could you,
I'd like to know what they are.
describe the concern that's in the letter before we get it? Yeah.
Shannon, I'll walk behind you and pass these out, that would be easier. They're sort of
There are 2 letters of support and there are additional neighbors here.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Great to see all the participation.
Yeah, I saw them.
Is 20 Cove Road the house to your
It's
west?
It's the one just off the garage. I'm looking at the map now.
Okay, thanks.
To the right, yeah.
If you're facing 30,
Yeah.
20 is to the
That's
right.
one-
That's correct.
one we're most concerned about, right? Thanks.
Okay, all right. The,
Oh, the concerns you also have a copy of this letter?
I don't have it in front of me, but I've seen it.
Okay.
okay, is this person, are the Adams
Present.
present? Okay. And their question is concerning Corliss Way, the road behind your house?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and they're worried about, would there be heavy equipment on that road? Would it damage the road? And also, are you planning to
The driveway.
put a driveway in off of Corliss Road?
Do you want us to address that right now? I'd be happy to.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, if you don't mind.
Okay. So 30 Cove is one of those properties which has got 2 fronts. It's got the Cove Road front, which is its official front, but it also, the back side of the lot is on Corliss Way. Those are 2 different neighborhood associations. So Cove Road is part of Cedar Crest?
Cedar Crest.
Well, that proves it.
And Corliss is a different neighborhood association. The access to 30 Cove Road is from Cove Road. The driveway is there. There's a substantial 5 or 6 foot height drop from Corliss to the back of the property. So there's no easy or existing access from Corliss. It's fully screened right now by vegetation, mostly by low bushes. It's kind of a scruffy hedgerow is the best way to describe it, what you've got back there. The intention is to clean up that vegetation, remove, there's some vines, there's a number of invasive species there. We'd like to bring it, clean it up, bring it back, put in healthier plants, but maintain the effective screening capability of that area.
So there's no intention to use that back part of the property
access.
for access from?
No, that was, I mean, I guess the easiest answer is that we hadn't thought about that. Kind of an interesting idea in some way, I guess.
Well,
but-
let me ask you. Shouldn't have brought it up, huh? I guess, my question is, are you keeping the existing septic or are you replacing?
We have no need to change the septic.
No need, because that to me would be, you're coming in on Corliss Way when the septic needs to get upgraded because it looks like you're blocked otherwise.
I mean, when we saw this, when we heard about this, and Corliss, Cove Road is, let's just say it's not, it's not richly wide or particularly easy, and Corliss makes Cove look big. So there's, I would say that even if we had the most nefarious intentions about bringing equipment down there, there's probably no way we could. So it just, it wouldn't make any sense to do so. Now, with respect to some of the work we have to do, yes, we have to do a little bit of work, a little bit of digging and so forth. But that will be, be doing that from Cove Road. It's the only functional access point.
Okay. When was the house originally built?
The base house was built in 52.
Was that the larger part?
That was the core, the middle portion, and I think the detached garage that I spoke about was also built at that point, but they were connected at some point later, and then that detached garage was converted to an apartment. I'm guessing from the look of the interior fixtures, it was probably early 60s, because it looks like early 60s inside, feels like it, and and then the detached the garage. I was not able to actually come up with the plans or any other information about that when that was built. It's clearly built. The structural lumber that was used in there were structural I-joists. But it was a style that was discontinued in the early 2000s when we moved to a different kind of technology. So I'm guessing that garage was probably built in the early to mid 90s, which might be consistent with the 12-foot setback that you mentioned.
Yeah, that change came after the mid-90s. And occasionally with these garages, we do find a lack of permitting, but it has been long enough that's not pertinent anymore. It's there. It is what it is, even if we can't track down a permit from.
It was well built. It's structurally sound and all that, but yeah, it's
This
definitely
appears to be from 1990, and it doesn't look like there
Right.
is a detached garage on there,
Yeah.
so post-90.
Yeah.
Great observation.
And I know there were some other concerns in that letter from the Corliss Way abutters, but I think that's been clarified in your meeting with them. We're not doing any second story on the house or anything like that. No dormer on the house or anything. We're maintaining the existing style and shape and height and feel of the house. It does need a bit of refreshing, but it will be consistent with what it is today.
I just had a question for Mr. Kandari. Are you bringing three-phase power into the new wood shop?
Likely,
Or-
likely, yes, because
So your power,
Lathes and so on?
yeah, there's a need for some of the equipment to have three-phase power.
all right, well, that's my only question. I'm a woodworker as well, so I just.
Yeah, no, there's clearly not enough power right now with the house and the garage, so it's actually underpowered. So,
You have to upgrade. I think you have to update the service in the house too, don't you?
the service in the house is adequate if we remove some of the exterior loads that are currently being served by the house. But I will need to upgrade the electric and, make the provision for the workshop as part of that. And, yes, we're at the limit right now,
All
so.
right, thanks.
Okay.
Public?
Bob?
I have no questions.
I don't have any questions. I'll throw in, when I visited the site, I happened upon a neighbor I'm looking at the map, what must be 35 Cove Way. And since I was wandering around someone's yard in her neighborhood, I, said hello. And she expressed that this project seemed like no problem for her, so just sharing that. That was the directly across the street neighbor.
I've been so pleasantly surprised by the Cedar Crest Association. We had our, annual meeting, and my wife and I came down, and it wasn't just the hat. They're just a lovely group. The hat was nice, but they're a lovely group of people, and everyone's been so helpful. It's been a dream to move to the Cape for a long time, so I feel like I got really lucky with the choice of.
In that spirit, I'll share what she actually said was, it's his property, he can do whatever he wants. That's not necessarily the position of this board, but that's what your neighbor said.
All right. Any more questions from the board? Okay, let me open this to the people in the audience. We'd be happy to hear from anybody who has something to tell us.
I'm Joshua Zacharias. I live
Can you come, Josh, right up to the podium? Could you come up to that microphone? Thank you. That one there, yep.
Joshua Zacharias. My wife and I and my kids live at 120 Corliss, so, on the other side. I think everyone's kind of concern is, well, first off, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. We're friendly people, and, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It's a nice little spot. I've walked around it. It's a cute little, it's a nice spot, Both the roads are. I think most of our concerns are the vegetation, the setbacks to vegetation. Like I understand cleaning stuff up. I get all that, it is a bunch of mishmash, whatever. I don't know if there's a setback for plantings from the edge of the road. I know that those properties are right on Corliss Way. Corliss is more to the north or to the northeast there. And, we have some setback on the fronts of our yards so that for easement or whatever, even though they're both private. But I think the vegetation concern, accessibility for being able to turn on those roads so that stuff is not too close to the road, maybe setbacks, even almost where it is, it's not, is plenty far, I think. If, you wanted input or anything, we're more than welcome, I think, to, talk to you or whatnot, or if you have something, you're an idea and you want to ask us, that's great. I think my only other questions, I think that the proposed work looks great. I'm not really too concerned about a second story, your workshop. I think everyone should have a workshop and be able to do what they want to do. The one thing I had a question was the septic, the pit that was engineered and I think installed in 1990. It was looked at in April 2nd of 26. The health department inspected it, I believe. That's what it says in the paperwork. But, I had a pit, it failed. We had to put in a pretty elaborate leach field in our yard, which required tearing the whole yard apart ultimately. My question is, why or it's fine if it passes and it all works. I mean, I know pits work. They're small, they're 7 foot around by 8 feet deep, and they're stone, and there's perk tests and water drainage. I get all that. So I just had a question on that, because I don't know much about it, and it affects, we have a well there that's close by, so we want to know about that. And also, what was the other thing? The 4 and 5 bedroom. It was listed with the town, the real estate sale, the town field card, all that suggests 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, correct? But in the proposed plan, it's going to go to 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. That's what I saw on the proposal. So I just had questions on that and how possibly that septic could withstand that kind of load. on a pit? Those are just my questions. And I'm concerned with nitrogen loading on the Cape. I fish. A lot of my friends do. So I think the town, is interested in this stuff too. You know, we talk about upgrading septics and going to town sewer, doing all this stuff. So that's all. I mean, it's just my crazy, want to know about what's going on over there. That's all.
Well, the plans as I read them show 4 bedrooms, and it's a conforming Title V design, which passed apparently. Now, 5 bedrooms is out of the question. Where does it say 5?
In the proposal.
Bob, there's a blueprint floor plan that does have 5 rooms that are labeled bedroom.
Well,
And to my quick read, I can't see a reason any of them are not a bedroom. But
well,
I'm not looking at dimension drawings and ceiling heights.
the
And
lot is undersized. There's no way they're gonna get,
I hear you on that. I hear you on that. But
No, I think one of the rooms labeled as a bedroom is actually a front living room.
it is labeled. That room is labeled as a living room on the existing
Right.
plan.
It's gonna,
The proposal has it as a bedroom.
Yeah.
I
So-
wonder. I think we're about to wander out of our purview here. I think, but
only a little
but
bit.
I don't know. I don't know if the Department of Health cares whether you call it a living room or not.
They do. If I can jump in.
They
While the bedroom count is not under your criteria tonight.
Yeah.
And I want the neighborhood to understand, the health department reviews every building permit that comes through. And so, between the building commissioner and the health department, if there is an inconsistency in the approved bedroom count, you can guarantee that the health department will hold that permit up until it is in compliance.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great question.
No, it's a legitimate question, and typically where the way the Board of Health works is that they will review these prior, they have to review it prior to issuance of a building permit.
Right.
This was tested at the time of conveyance, and I think there was a more recent test too, was there?
yeah, there was, it was fully tested. I'm also an environmental engineer and
Also a fisherman.
so I am also concerned with. And my understanding was that the town is going to go to sewer. And so at that point would be the major upgrade, I think, for,
Not for this neighborhood.
not for this
anytime soon.
neighborhood.
Correct.
I think
Regardless, we still need to go to the Board of Health, and there are certain conditions under which, in the Title V law, you get into situations where it's not just bedroom count, it's full room count and other conditions. We would abide by whatever the health department requires us to abide by, so.
And to Josh's point, I agree. It's not part of our purview for the bedroom count, but for instance, we're not allowing him to expand. The only thing that would concern us is if we were allowing him to expand, that would prevent him from replacing his septic system. But
I'm
this,
not trying to say.
Oh, I know you're not.
that it can't be 4 or 5 or whatever it might be. It was just a question.
south.
And I think that anyone would have that concern if they were trying to expand their property or do anything. I mean, if I came to you and said, well, I want to have 5 bedrooms, well, you can tell me, or
Yeah.
the health department might say, okay, well, you're going to expand your leach field and, it's got to be under a certain,
I can assure you the one thing the health department does is count bedrooms.
Yes. Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, please.
Impose for just a moment? Because I do want to clarify with the neighborhood here. I think it's important, especially if you haven't gone through this process before, to know that when the board makes a decision and the decision letter is recorded with the county, there are a set of conditions, and we do have a set of standard conditions. The board has the ability to impose additional conditions if they choose. But among our standard conditions, number 3 is that the applicant shall verify bedroom count and septic design for adequacy with the Eastham Health Department. That's something that holds up a building permit. The other 2 standard conditions, because you mentioned vegetation, we do have bylaws that were passed in recent years that address clear cutting along property lines and a 6-foot vegetated perimeter. The adherence to both of those bylaws is a standard condition that is written into all of our decision letters now, making sure that it's very clear that those vegetated buffers need to be respected. I want to be clear, that does not mean that they're untouchable. So if I have 6 feet of poison ivy that I want to clear and replace with some nice blooming rhododendrons, that is, within an allowed use of the property. But I will echo making sure you know where your property lines are, particularly on private roads where that is not always super clear, is the right direction to take. And that in the process, when you get through your final building permit, you will also have a planning department review to come out and make sure that those conditions have been honored.
One thing we discovered when we realized that we were in 2 separate neighborhood associations is we need to understand what potential rights and requirements there might be on the interface between those, between our property and the other, that property behind, or the street behind. So we'll be paying attention to that, because we need, I think my clients want to understand what that is so they don't screw it up.
Very good.
And to speak one more thing related to that rear vegetative section, there are parts of it which are old, I believe it's chain link fence or something. There's some other stuff there.
It's the toughest vine I've ever seen. It's thorny, and there are invasive vines that have really overrun that side of the property.
Welcome to Eastham.
I was going to say, welcome to Eastham.
So I truly do want to clean it up, because it hurts when you go near it. And it's also pulling down some of the good growth, and it's invading the sides of the property. And there's some pretty nice cedars that those vines are. So it needs a big cleanup.
From TLC.
But I understand the concern.
I think the goals are shared.
And we understand the pain.
Do we have any more comments or questions from the audience? If not, then I will.
Steve Worst.
Okay.
Could you come to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Steve Worst, 45 Cove Road, and we're right across the street also from Ken. But I just wanted to say that everything I've seen, is not going to change our view at all from the street, and it's just going to be a positive addition to the neighborhood. And welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
All the Cove people like to talk.
Hi, I'm Joan Keneally Neese, and I live at 65 Cove Road. So I am, if you go down the street, I'm the last house on the left. And I think that when I look at the plan, I think that is a very nice addition to the house, which I think has needed something through the years. It looks like you've made a nice addition to it, and I definitely agree with it. And I think it's also wonderful if you clean up the backyard, too. Thank you.
Noted.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right, then I'm going to close the public. Yes, sir?
You're okay, right?
So, my name is Art Adams. I live at 10 Corliss Way. So I'm the gentleman with the barn and the little garage in the back. So, excuse me. So I'm learning a lot here, because at some point in time, I'll probably have to do the same thing with my barn. So I think, I just want to say, welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I'll be the one walking around with the 2 Great Danes as we go around the neighborhood. I'm sure as some of you people.
My children were very impressed only this morning.
There you go. And they're friendly, so they're great. They walk on a lot of beaches here. But I think part of the concern, and this probably goes more with Tim, with your side, is there were certain pages when we looked at the plans that were missing. And some of that led to some of the reasons and some of the questions here. And that is, as your plans had, we had the front side of the house, which protects, as I say, Cove Road, which the neighbors on both sides are really good. They're really nice to each other and work from there. But we didn't see the back. And all we saw was the line and we saw where we moved the chimney from one side to the other. And I fully understand based on your plans. Because when you look at the pictures, you'll see that the chimney gets routed over to where where the new, or your, how can I put it, the apartments, that type of thing. So without looking from the back side, we couldn't tell. And that's the reason why some of these, and especially with the heavy equipment, both streets, as we've had buildings on, had damage to the roads. So I was concerned for the roads. So really what I want to do is just make the statement, welcome to the neighborhood. Thank you. And we're looking forward to seeing you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I do apologize for the numbering on the plans because they were non-consecutive and there are no other plans yet missing.
That's understandable.
But we will be having, in order to get a building permit, we have to create all the elevations.
You guys log on to the Eastham, it's on that cover letter that you sent out to everyone, and that's where I saw all the plans and proved it.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Any more questions or comments from board members?
I just want to clarify, honestly, from these plans, in my amateur, I think it's outside my purview opinion, it does look like there's going to be 5 bedrooms as it's drawn. I think what I heard you say is that's just not our concern because our conditions say you got to pass Board of Health. And what goes on inside the building just kind of doesn't matter to zoning. Okay.
No, my final comments are, it's nice to see a project that's not 29 feet and 11 and a half inches tall. That's a rarity. And I just want to say to Jackie that poison ivy is a is a native plant here on Cape Cod. It's the English ivy that you can pull out at will.
Fair enough, Mr. Rich, it is 7:10.
No, we're done.
Noted.
Okay, all right. I'd like to move to the findings of fact. Bob Sheldon, would you read them for us?
I thought you might throw it to me, figuring I'd been healed in this time.
While Mr. Sheldon gets organized, just a reminder that this is 2 special permits. So there are 2 special permits that will get voted on. One set of finding of facts, one set of conditions, because they're all tied together.
One special permit is growing the house, the other special permit is allowing the non-conforming garage to grow?
Correct.
And the conditions, and then we approve.
I'll show you the minutes from last time.
Proposed finding of fact, right here, page 4, wherever it is.
4, yes.
Zoning Board of Appeals finds that, 1, the property is located at 30 Cove Road, map 18, parcel 23, is located in District A residential. 2, the applicant has applied for, 1, a special permit pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 8, and Eastham Zoning Bylaw, Section 4.4, alternative to non-conforming building, to increase the ridge height of the detached garage, which is pre-existing. Oh, sure, make me do that. Non-conforming as to height, and a special permit pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 8, and Eastham Zoning Bylaw, Section 7.4.9.1, site plan approval, special permit, to expand the existing dwelling on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. 3, the property contains 17,692 square feet of lot area, 40,000 square feet required in zoning District A, and is pre-existing non-conforming as to minimum lot area. Existing site coverage of 2,678 square feet, 15.1%, which is non-conforming. Proposed dwelling additions, total approximately 412 square feet, increasing the lot coverage to 3,077 square feet, which is 17.4%, an increase of 399 or 2.3% of lot area. 571 square feet of garage footprint is included in both calculations and will remain unchanged. 4, dwelling is pre-existing non-conforming front setback of 26.5 feet, 30 required, no change proposed. All other dwelling setbacks are conforming and will remain unchanged. The detached garage is pre-existing non-conforming as to height based on its setback, from the westerly property line. The garage footprint and setbacks will remain unchanged. The proposed garage ridge height will increase by 2 feet. 5, this is for special permit, section 4.4 bylaw.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The site, okay, now we need some decisions here. Is adequate in terms of size for the proposed structure or use. The 17,692 square feet lot is adequate to accommodate the existing garage and dwelling. The proposed 2-foot ridge height increase does not alter the garage footprint or its relationship to the lot boundaries, and the lot is comparable in size to neighboring properties in the area. The site is suitable for the proposed structure or use with regard to the purpose and intent of the zoning district. The property is located in zoning district A and has been in residential use since 1952. A residential accessory structure is consistent with the purposes of the district under bylaw section 2.1.1. The proposed height increase is intended to make the existing garage second floor functional as a personal workshop. 7, the proposal does provide adequate management of traffic flow and minimize unsafe and harmful impacts within the site as well as in relation to adjoining streets and properties. The existing driveway provides adequate access and sightlines. No changes to driveway configuration are proposed. 8, the proposed project is compatible with the prevailing character of other uses in buildings on the site and in the neighborhood in terms of building materials and architectural techniques. The proposed additions are single-story and maintain a low-profile Cape-style character of the existing dwelling. The proposed front elevation drawing, sheet 8, demonstrates that the additions will not significantly alter the street-facing character of the property. The proposed additions are set at the rear and side of the dwelling and are modest in scale relative to the existing structure. 9, proposed project does provide for adequate control of artificial light, noise, litter, odor, and other sources of nuisance or inconvenience to adjoining properties, public ways, and the neighborhood. All exterior lighting shall be downshielded per condition number 4 below. Other sources of nuisance are not identified. 10, the proposed project does protect from degradation and alteration of the natural environment, including but not limited to slopes and other topological features, vegetation, wetlands, and wildlife habitats. The garage height increase does not alter the garage footprint or disturb additional ground area. No topological alteration is proposed in connection with the garage modification. 11, after an evaluation of all the evidence presented and based on the findings of fact, the proposed alterations to the pre-existing non-conforming structures will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming structures. Am I done? I got 8 more, is that what you're saying?
Well,
Okay.
do we want to vote on one and then read the conditions to the second? Or we,
We haven't even got to conditions yet.
These are all,
All right,
the findings for both, and
Yeah,
then we'll
yeah,
vote on it.
and we can approve both.
I'll take, Jamie, I'll take it on.
Okay.
Yeah, for a few
start at
moments.
12 then.
Okay. Number 12
Site plan approval. Number 12, the proposal
does
preserve the landscape in its natural state insofar as practical. The proposed additions are sited on the existing developed portion of the lot. No significant grade changes are shown on the proposed site plan. Clearing of native vegetation should be minimized to the greatest extent possible, and proposed landscaping shall be compatible to the existing vegetation on the lot and surrounding area. Number 13, the proposed development is compatible with the prevailing character of other buildings and uses of the site in the neighborhood through the use of appropriate height, scale, massing, setbacks, and building materials, and other architectural techniques. The proposed additions are a single story and maintain the low-profile Cape-style character of the existing dwelling. The proposed front elevation drawing demonstrates that the additions will not significantly alter the street-facing character of the property. The proposed additions are set at the rear and side of the dwelling and are modest in scale relative to the existing structure. The proposed project does avoid impact on steep slopes, floodplains, hilltops, dunes, scenic views, and wetlands. The property is on a lot with no known mapped coastal or wetland resource areas in the immediate project area. Number 15, the proposed project does protect unique or significant environmental resources, including groundwater quality and recharge volume, the water quality of coastal and freshwater surface water bodies. The property is served by a private well. No new impervious areas beyond the building additions is proposed. The proposed site coverage increase of 399 square feet, 2.3% of the lot area, is modest. The proposed project does maximize the convenience and safety of vehicular, and pedestrian movement within the site in relationship to the adjacent ways. The property is accessed by an existing driveway off Cove Road. No changes to the driveway location or configuration are proposed. Adequate sight lines exist for the vehicles entering and exiting the property from Cove Road. Number 17,
I believe, if I may count them all as parties in interest in favor at this point, that there are 10 parties of interest in room, and 0 who have expressed their opposition tonight. There are 2 letters received in favor, and 1 letter was received in opposition.
do I have to read that again, or does that
No.
suffice?
It should do it. Okay.
Thank you, Jackie. It's great to see this level of participation in general.
May I have a motion to approve the findings of fact?
So moved.
Okay, and
Second.
a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And me as well, that's 5, unanimous. All right. As Ben Zender keeps suggesting to me, can we just reference the proposed standard conditions, or should we read them
You do
tonight?
not need to read them.
Okay.
You do need to approve the 2 special permits separately. So you can approve the 4.3 section, or rather 4.4 section, with conditions as appears or as presented, as written, however you'd like to say it.
Okay.
And then the special permit
All right.
for
First,
7491.
we need to approve the conditions, the standard conditions.
You can do that.
All right, may I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Okay. And a second.
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's unanimous. Okay, now, Jackie, if you would read that again, or, we need a motion to either approve or deny. Which one?
Why don't you start with a special permit pursuant to bylaw 4.4?
I'll give it a try. I'll move that we approve the special permit pursuant to Eastham Bylaw Section 4.4 for the alteration of non-conforming building, the garage.
And a second?
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then the second one?
I mean, I'm on a roll. I'll move that we approve the special permit pursuant to Section 7.4.9.1 to expand a pre-existing dwelling on a non-conforming lot.
All right.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Technical point, I know that you need to write up the finding, and then the finding needs to be signed.
So,
Park timeframe?
yeah, great. So what will happen from here is we'll write up the letter. By law, we have 14 days to do that. I try to get that done a little sooner. Madam Chair will then come in and sign the letter. We'll then file with the town clerk.
Then we have the appeal period.
And there is an appeal period. Should anyone choose to appeal, they would do that through the town clerk. We will hope that they don't. And then we'll be in touch to let you know that your letter's been signed by the town clerk, and you can register with the county, which you can do online now. You don't have to drive to Barnstable.
Oh, good.
I know. And then you can file your permits. Just like that, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to the board and thank you as well.
You're welcome. All right. I need a motion to approve the minutes from April 2nd. There is?
Yeah, I gave it to her.
Doug has helped us with one correction on page 1. Make sure that we include Alex as having existed.
It's on the,
Congratulations.
That'll be corrected.
they didn't include Alex.
Okay.
As a virtual member.
Had to add him.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I ask you to step into the hall so we can continue our meeting? Thank you very much for coming.
There's cake, we want some.
I don't see any cake.
No.
Let them be there.
Okay,
Do we have the corrections?
yes. Yes.
Yep.
Now, to approve the minutes dated April 2nd as
As amended.
corrected.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Who moved?
I'll make the motion.
Oh. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous. Okay, and then,
I get a motion to close the meeting.
Adjourn.
how about a motion to, is there any other business? No, okay.
Is there anything other than maybe,
2 continuances now for
there's
June.
2 continues, anything other than the 2 continues for next month?
Nothing. I think the deadline was yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. Approve,
Minutes are done.
adjourn,
Adjourn. So moved.
and a second.
Just want to stay here for a while?
We all want to hang out? Bob is still waiting for cake.
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right.